So I'm going to be recapping last night's episode of Joe Millionaire. The good thing about recapping like the next day is that you get to see like all the tea that goes down like on Instagram. Like Carolyn was posting a few things that I'll talk about later, and I also got to see that Reality Steve did an interview with Kala and Steven and with Amanda. I also saw that he did an interview with Carolyn, but he's not going to be dropping that till next week, which is really annoying because I really wanted to listen to that one. So let's just start off right from the beginning. Martin starts off by telling the girls that Amber and Whitney were eliminated last night because since they had those dates in the last episode, they didn't get to go back to the manor. They had to go back to their hotel rooms. So no one really knew who went home or if anyone went home. How much more messy would it be if there was actually 6 people left and not 4? Cuts to Caroline talking about that when you fall in love with someone, you fall in love with like who they are, but that if anyone had to choose, they would choose Rich, and if anyone says otherwise, then they're just lying. I feel like they always, even throughout the whole season, they always try to get Carolyn to like kind of touch on the money subject. Even like I remember in some of the earlier episodes, like the girls would say, when asked about Carolyn, they would straight up say like, oh yeah, she cares who the millionaire is, like that's what she's gonna pick. And I remember seeing in one of the episodes that she thought Kurt was the millionaire, but anyways, it doesn't matter. Producers are always gonna try to get people to say certain things, so I feel like that question was intentional. Then Martin tells the girls what they'll be doing for their dates and has them say goodbye to each other because they won't be seeing each other anymore. So then it cuts to Annie and Steven on their date. So Annie and Steven go paddleboarding, I believe it's called. They talk about how they're so similar to each other, and that's something that has been brought up recently, like just them two as people being so similar. And then Steven says something along the lines of, you know, I don't know if I want to be with someone, I don't know if that's what I want for my life. Like, do I want someone who's going to be just like me? And I think that's a very good point. You know, some people would prefer to choose to date someone who's just like them, and others would actually not want that at all and want someone who's just way more different. Steven talks about how he's never had a bad date with Annie. Then it goes to Kurt and Carolyn's date, and they go to play tennis. And her outfit is so cute. She's wearing like this, like a light blue tennis dress with like a sweatshirt over her shoulders and some like tube socks and some tennis shoes, and I think she's wearing shades. Carolyn has really nice style. I usually always like what she's wearing on dates. So Kurt goes on to say what we all know, that he's fallen fast and hard for Carolyn. He says, I want to be able to look at somebody and not care about anything else, just be able to look into her eyes and smile. I really do think Carolyn's the one. Moment of silence for Kurt, because no, we all know you didn't choose Carolyn. Like no. Anyways, Carolyn tells Kurt that he's the one for her. She tells him that she's never fallen like this before and to not take it away from her. And then she mentions how she can definitely imagine Kurt in her life and in her son's life. Going into the episode, I already knew what happened because I saw it all on social media, right? So I was just watching this and I was like, oh my god, this girl's gonna get her heart broken. And just to see her talk about her son, you know, obviously that's a very big deal to introduce your children to like someone that you're dating. So for her to be open and say like, I can definitely see him in my son's life, is like so just fucked up. And then she kind of she mouths to him that she's in love with him. And then it cuts to him, and then it cuts to Kurt saying that when he's not with Carolyn, he wants to be with her, and when he steps into the room, that's who he's looking for. So Kurt goes back to the date and tells Steven how it went. He tells him obviously it went amazing. You know, when they're with each other, it's just like they consume each other. Then Steven says she definitely has you under her spell, and she's had you like that since day one. So Kala comes over for her date with Steven, and they cook together. They cook one of his favorite meals, which I don't really even know what it was. It was fish and something. I don't know that they cooked the food very well, because she tries to eat it later and she like smells the fish and she's like, it just smells really fishy. And he's like, did you just smell that? So then Steven asks Kala what he thought about this being like Joe Millionaire, and she says she likes the fact that there were 2 guys, but that the money, she doesn't care about the money. She says she's dated wealthy men in her past, and for example her ex, and that money doesn't define your character, because you know she's already mentioned that her ex was like not a good guy. And he says, you know, that things with Kala, that she's a bit of a mystery to him still, and that Annie isn't. He says there's still many things he doesn't know about Calla, but with Annie, he basically knows everything about her. So Kurt and Amanda's date, she also comes over for a little cooking date, and they make pizza from scratch. So he says that when he sees Amanda, he lights up. He loves the way she makes him feel. You know, they kind of toast, and she says that no matter what, she's happy that they met and that he makes her feel happy and comfortable. Kurt then asks Amanda if it matters to her if he's the wealthy one or not, and she says that it doesn't, that she comes from a family who worked hard for their money, and that all that matters is that you're willing to work hard. Okay, so then it gets time to come up in their suits, and Martin tells them how fond he is of them both. He says that he'd be proud to hand off any of his daughters to both of them. I noticed you know, when all the girls came out, that they were all wearing white, so I'm assuming that this was a thing. I don't know if they had to wear white or what it was. You know, I always wonder, like, do they tell them, like, in their little checklist when they're going off to Joe Millionaire, like, you have to bring in a white dress, because if you're down to the last four, like, that's what you'll be wearing, or if that's something that's provided to them by the producers. So, you know, the girls go in. First it's Annie. She says that her expectations were so low coming in, and that when she first met Steven, she thought that they were so different. It wasn't until actually getting to know him that she realized that they were actually so similar. So she tells him that she's falling in love with him, and that she keeps falling in love with him more and more every single time that they're together. Amanda brings up the avocado reference, their little avocado inside joke. She actually compares their love to an avocado. She says it's hard on the outside and it ripens over time. Now they are soft and mushy and ready to make a delicious guacamole together. I find Amanda very playful, very light, but I don't just see her as that. Like, I see her as someone that can also be serious and get deep. So I very much like Amanda. I definitely was going back and forth on who Kurt should pick, but I just felt like his connection with Carolyn was stronger, and I was just like, I feel like he should pick her, because to me, as an audience member watching, it just makes more sense. Calla says that Steven has made her feel safe and confident and able to open up, and that's something that she's been looking for, because as we saw, Calla kind of took her time and was a little shy and more reserved than the other girls, and that's why, from what we've seen, I just felt like maybe he shouldn't pick her, because the connection seemed like it formed a lot later, and like he has a stronger connection with Annie than Calla. Carolyn then sees Kurt, and she tells him that she can't wait for the moment to be right for him to meet her son. We know that's not gonna happen. He tells her that the passion that they have is unreal, that they can't make it up, and that as much as he likes having passion in his life, it has burned him in the past. So he keeps getting this feeling that this will burn out, and that as much as it breaks his heart, that his heart is actually with someone else, which is crazy, because earlier in the episode he actually said something like, my heart says to go with Carolyn, but my mind says to go with Amanda. It's like, but you picked Amanda. Like, so then he asks her to say something, because when he breaks it to her, she's just kind of standing there like, and so she looks around. I think she's like looking at the producers, and she's like, can I go now? And then he says yeah, and she leaves. So like, she didn't I feel like that's the first time we've seen something like that. So I watched The Bachelor. I didn't watch this season. I took a break off what's his name, Clayton season, because I don't know, I feel like it's been too much back-to-back Bachelor, and I just didn't want to even watch this season. So I'll probably just start again with the new season. But on The Bachelor, we never, you know, when that person gets dumped, you never see someone just like not say anything. You know, they usually have something to say. But Carolyn, I think, was so pissed off, and she felt so fucking like, I'm sure she felt so fucking like confused and dumb and like lied to, because to everyone, he 1000% made it seem like it was gonna be Carolyn and him at the end. He says something like, I made a woman fall in love with me and I can't reciprocate it. I'm like, since when? Since when? Like, it's so, the whole thing is so bizarre. Carolyn says that it was pretty much a slap in the face. She gets in the car, and Martin tells her like, oh, we're gonna miss you at the Lakeshore Manor, and she doesn't even say anything to him. She literally just gets in the car, silent as shit. He closes the door and then she goes off. As it's driving off, she says that he made the right decision, because if he was that insecure from the beginning, that he was not the man for her. She says, I'm the girl that got away. So Annie and Steven, he tells her that he has stronger feelings for someone else, aka Calla. She's shocked. She says, I have to say I'm surprised. He, you know, I've noticed he does this like after every breakup. He tries to like give them a compliment, and I understand doing that, but it's just like, I don't know, not the right time. He tells her not to change, that he's learned so much from her, and yeah, she says that she actually was waiting for him to just say that he was kidding, because she was so shocked she couldn't believe it. Then it cuts to Amanda and Kurt. He tells her that he's falling in love with her. He actually does look really happy when he's talking with Amanda, like super cheesy, and I'm like, how can you be so like happy after doing that to Carolyn? Like, I at least thought it would hurt him a little bit more, you know? Like, I thought he wouldn't be as jolly to tell Amanda that he's picked her, because he's so like brokenhearted over what he did to Carolyn, because I want to believe that it actually hurts him what he did to her. So then both Steven and Kurt give Calla and Amanda the rings. So I was very confused when watching this, because I was like, wait, it wasn't very clear. I was like, is this an engagement ring? Like, Steven in his speech mentioned something about a promise, so I was like, is this a promise ring? I'm not sure. Then later in when I talk about the reality Steve portion of it, he does clarify that it is a promise ring. So I guess both Kurt and Steven gave Amanda and, I almost said Amanda and Carolyn, Amanda and Calla promise rings. So they weren't really engagement rings, but they were beautiful. I didn't get it, like, I feel like the camera didn't pan too much on the ring, but I think Amanda's was like a baby yellow, which was really, really cute. I'm sure it was a really expensive ring, and I wonder if they have some kind of contract with it, because I know with like the bachelors, when they get engaged, if they don't stay together for like, if they break up after less than 2 years, they have to give that ring back. But again, this isn't an engagement, so it probably doesn't work the same way. It's a totally different situation. I don't know. Oh no, my camera's dying. I could have sworn I charged it. Okay, so I still have more to say, because I want to talk about the reality Steve interviews and just close up what I was talking about. So I'm going to record this. I'm going to continue recording from home, so it might look a little different in the next clip. Okay, so I am back. It is way later in the day now. And you can probably see, I mean, I'm sure you could see it in the previous videos. I have like a pimple patch, because I have a pimple right now, and it's just like a really big painful pimple. So I have a patch on it, and I'm just trying to get it to go away. Yeah, so to continue the recaps, I left off on like some bachelor talk, but that doesn't matter. After, I guess, the girls accept the rings that are not actually engagement rings. Like, did I miss this or something? Because I swear to God, I was watching it and I was so confused, because I was like, okay, so they're getting engaged, right? But the speeches didn't really add up, and I don't feel like they actually said like, no, this is actually a promise ring. But after they accept the promise rings, they get to tell the girls like if they're rich or not. And Kurt tells Amanda that he's actually not the millionaire. And then it's interesting, because they make Amanda kind of take some time to herself after he reveals that information. And I feel like they did that all for TV, like to make it seem like Amanda was like, oh my God, like I need time to process the fact that you're not swimming in money. And she obviously didn't care. She made that very clear. I truly don't think she cares. So I think that little edit when they had her step away and like take some time for herself was just to make it seem dramatic, and it wasn't. And it's funny how they didn't do that when Steven told Annie that he had money. And the way he said it too, he said like that he was taught that if you work hard and take care of your family, then that makes you a wealthy man. And if that's what defines a wealthy man, then yes, he is a wealthy man. And then he says, in terms of actual money, I have a lot of it. I just thought it was funny the way he said it. Obviously, Calla was like, didn't even blink. She was just like, you know, I don't care about money. Like, you know that from the, you knew that from the very start. So let's get into the Instagram drama. So I saw, it's interesting because I saw everything, you know, all the spoilers before I even saw what happened, and I didn't really care. I wanted to know regardless. So I feel like Carolyn was really good about like keeping it a secret that he didn't pick her, because all her posts on Instagram, I was convinced he picked her, obviously because he's super into her, but all her Instagram posts were like super like them hugging, them kissing, like super lovey-dovey kind of stuff, to where you were like, oh, she 1000% got picked, right? And they follow each other. So I was like, obviously she gets picked. Like there's no way that she doesn't get picked. And I honestly didn't really check Amanda's profile. I probably should have. I don't know if she posted much. So that night she posts a TMZ, like a screenshot of a TMZ article that says, Joe Millionaire finale, Kurt Sowers, I don't know how you say his last name, already single, split from winner. And she writes on her stories, I never saw this coming, with like an emoji, like a shocked face, but my DMs did. So I'm assuming that means that Kurt slid in her DMs after breaking it off with Amanda. And it's just like, did you really think you're gonna have another chance with Carolyn after pulling that stunt? She also follows Amanda, so I don't think they're like on bad terms at all. And then she tweeted something really funny. I'm trying to find the tweet. She goes, when he tells you he's falling in love with you también the day before and the day after, his heart belongs to someone else. Peace out, Lakeshore Manor. Hashtag can I go now? And then with like a peace sign and then like a emoji of a girl running. But I thought it was funny because she was like, I was like, why does she say it like when he tells you he's falling in love with you también? And I was like, oh duh, because in the previous episode she tells him that she's falling in love with him in Spanish, and he says yo también, which means me too. So I thought that was hilarious. That was a really good tweet. Justice for Carolyn. Like, can we make Carolyn the Bachelorette? Oh my god, if Carolyn became the Bachelorette, that would be insane. ABC needs to give her a call. But let's get back to the episodes with Reality Steve. So he talked, I'll talk a little bit about what Kala and Steve's interview was like. So I found it really surprising. They actually said that they edited like a lot of their moments out. So that's why everyone is so shocked that he picked her over Annie. So apparently they had all these moments that really didn't make it because they wanted to make it look like his connection with Annie was just so entirely much stronger than it was with Kala. And I watch The Bachelor a lot, and I've heard about The Bachelor producers doing this a lot in the show. You know, they create all this unnecessary drama. They make certain edits to make it look like this is what the person is like. It reminded me of when the Bachelorette, Rachel Lindsay, said, you know, throughout her season, everyone was rooting for her and Peter. And Peter was so cute. Let's be honest, Peter was so cute. Even me, I was like, she's way more into Peter. She's not even into Brian, like all this stuff. And it turns out after we find out that they edited so many moments out with her and Brian, made it look like she really only cared about Peter. And so obviously now her and Brian are married. They've been together since the show ended. Like, they're obviously a real couple who's actually really in love. So I'm not surprised to hear that producers did this, but I was like shocked because it's like, oh my god, they tricked me. Like, I really thought like him and Kala like didn't really have much in common, and they gave so many examples in the interview. I would say for everyone to go to Reality Steve's podcast and listen to that episode, but they talked about so much that they had in common and all these things, and I was like, oh my god, they didn't show any of that. I thought that was really fucked up. But they also talked about how I think they bought a house in Kansas City and she's moving down there, or she already did, I can't remember. So that's that. And he also shares his interview with Amanda. And spoiler alert, we know Amanda and Kurt are no longer together. He kind of talks about the whole Carolyn situation, says that, you know, they did have some things in common. Like, I guess they both went to the same middle/high school or something like that, but they were just in different, like, they went different years. I don't know what the age difference is there, but I guess there's kind of an age gap. She makes comments like that her connection was clearly stronger with Kurt, which I don't know if that's the case, because I don't know, wouldn't you guys still be together? Like, I wonder, had he picked Carolyn, would he still be with Carolyn? She says that the difference between her and Carolyn was that Carolyn was cocky and she was confident. And Kala also said that, you know, she was like, oh, Carolyn's cool and stuff. She was really cocky, but like, she's like nice or whatever. So, and we saw that as an audience, like she did seem cocky, I guess. She mentions that when, I guess they hadn't talked about the ring. And so when he like gave her the ring, she was like kind of shocked, and she was like, oh my god, like we didn't talk about this, like is this an engagement ring? And she was like, he doesn't even know like who my dad is. And so he's trying to basically get out of her like, why didn't it work out with Kurt? And she gave some interesting tea. Like she said that dating in the manor, which I think everyone can agree, dating in the manor is much more different than dating like outside in the real world. She didn't give a timeline, I don't think, of how long they lasted, like how many months they were together after the show wrapped, but she did say that they saw each other a total of 3 times. So she lives in New York and he lives in Charlotte. She felt like Kurt wasn't emotionally available after the show. Like the connection that she had with him on the show, it did not carry out into real life, which is like insane. Like to me, that just, it could be many things, but to me that just shows that Kurt didn't pick the right person. Like I really do think that connection would have still been there with Carolyn had he picked her and had they stayed together. Because I don't know, I thought they had a genuine connection, and I think he made the wrong choice. I think he was trying to be, again, safe with Amanda. Amanda's a catch. Like I think Amanda is fantastic. She is a catch for anyone, but at the end of the day, his connection just might have been stronger with Carolyn, and maybe he should have picked her. Yeah, she felt like he just was not emotionally there, and said that she thinks it's due to his previous relationship, like before the show. I guess, I don't remember him saying this, but I could guess he did, that he was almost engaged to someone before the show. I don't know how long, I think like a year before the show or something like that. So like she feels like that relationship maybe scarred him, and he's still not done healing from that. The way she talked about it, it made it seem like, yeah, he wasn't emotionally there or whatever, but that she's the one that kind of maybe initiated that breakup conversation. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the vibe that I was getting from the interview. So yeah, that's the tea. I don't think anything's gonna happen there anymore for Carolyn and Kurt. Like I think she'd, if anything, she'd be more embarrassed to even try to go there again. But they do follow each other, so I guess they're on good terms. I'm not sure. I saw that she liked one of his pictures like not too long ago. I don't know. And he didn't really post much. He didn't post anything, I don't believe, after the finale. So yeah, I'm sad. The show is done. I hope they're definitely going to keep making new seasons of this, because it's definitely worth watching. But yeah, justice for Carolyn. Justice for Amanda. I still like Amanda. Don't hate on Amanda. And Calla, I like Calla too. Annie, I like Annie, but I don't feel like I really like connected with Annie. But yeah, justice for Annie too, I guess, because she was also like blindsided. But yeah, that wraps up this episode.